from Projitech. As a reminder, this webinar is being recorded and all phone lines have been muted. The link to the recording will go out to you all within about a week, and subsequently it'll be posted to our YouTube channel. The slides are downloadable now. So you'll see a handout section. You can click into the handout section and download a copy now or anytime during the session. There's also a place for you to enter questions. We'll focus on answering those at the end of the presentation. And there will be one poll, and that'll come up in a couple slides. And with that, let's talk about what we're going to talk about today. So today's agenda in this session, we'll cover a little bit on our company and myself, which I will go through quickly, and then we'll get into the topic areas, looking at differences between quick reporting and work order tracking primarily as a list, and then actual display of the two applications side by side. Also want to look at reviewing the use of quick reporting in coordination with the Start Center. It's just not an individual application, but it actually is to be used with your entire use of Maximo, particularly for those who are reporting results on work orders. We also took a look at some ideas for alteration of quick reporting, even as it is delivered out of the box. We'll talk about our next webinar, and again, previous videos are at our YouTube channel, including all of the previous webinars as well. So a little bit about our company. The map here just sort of shows a number of client locations, essentially where they're all logging in from, mainly our domestic clients. We are an IBM business partner. We provided Maximo as a service from our cloud since 1999 with Maximo 4, primarily using remote desktop. Our engineers, including myself, have certifications from IBM. We manage over 100 production instances and a slightly higher number of other as they relate to development, training, testing, and so on. And we partner with a number of other companies to extend Maximo around vertical industry solutions or add-ons. And as for myself, and actually, let me go ahead and launch the poll before I forget to do that. And where is it? Let's see, we'll get the poll launched. There we go. So just a brief question. What's the primary application using your organization for reporting labor to Maximo? So is it work order tracking, quick reporting, labor reporting, something outside of Maximo, and then the information is piped into it through integration, or perhaps it's not applicable. You don't use Maximo for reporting labor, you're just not reporting labor, or just don't know. So while you're taking and people are responding to that one, again, my name is Winston. I've worked with Maximo for over 20 years, starting with Maximo 2. Do most of the things involved with the application, short of installing it. Worked in various industries, manufacturing, transportation, and energy for the most part. I, too, have a number of certifications from IBM, primarily focus more so on the implementation and use. Most of the certifications that are handled are provided by successfully getting through an exam or multiple exams depending on the certification. And They typically come out as new versions are released. And let's see, I think I'm not seeing any more responses, so let's go ahead and we will close the poll, and let's see if I can actually, there we go, share the results. So it looks like mostly people are using work order tracking, and that's fine. It's about what I expected. Labor reporting is a little higher than expected, but at any rate, that's what we have. So again, just wanted to make sure I got that out of the way, because that's what I expected. A lot of people don't use quick reporting. So hopefully I'm going to be able to tell you a little bit about why you may want to handle reporting of not just labor, but also tool usage, material usage as well, if you do not have an attended storeroom. All right, so let me get out of the poll, back to the slide, and that's me. Let's go and move on into the kind of meat of the presentation itself, and let's talk about differences. The quick reporting application is essentially a clone of work order tracking that's delivered with Maximo. And this is the way it's set up out of the box. So first, let's take a look, some ideas around work order tracking. There's a number of things that are particularly brought out to compare against quick reporting. And again, this is essentially out of the box, the out-of-the-box differences that are there and available to you. So for starters, from an overall application size, instead of 12 tabs, we're looking at 3. The list tab, so every application basically has 2 tabs no matter what, a list tab and a main tab. So in this case, list and the quick reporting tab, and then there's also specifications tab. But if you're not using specifications in work orders, then the specifications tab, you can hide it. You're not going to have anything there anyway. There are fewer fields per tab. And I should mention there's not always a one-to-one that is all the fields in work order tracking and the corresponding location in quick reporting where it would display. In some cases, and I'll talk about a couple of those, you will find things in quick reporting in a tab that are not presented the same way in work order tracking. The general feeling around this is just, again, ease of use, but it's something else to consider, because there may be some things in quick reporting you want to put out in work order tracking. All of these things can be handled through the application designer and then maintained within Maximo by using, of course, Maximo's tools. The limited focus in quick reporting. The primary focus on quick reporting is reporting actuals. Now, there is some plan data that's available to you. The tasks are available to you immediately. Plan materials, plan labor, things like that are also available to you from a click. So you do have some access to the plan information, but the primary focus is really around reporting actuals. New work orders creating quick reporting begin in progress status. Work order tracking begins them in typically waiting approval status, unless, of course, you made an alteration to that. So when work order is built in progress status, it's immediately available for reporting results. Now, it does mean that the work order approval process, if you have one in place, gets bypassed. If you have personnel that are responsible for that, or if you're using workflow, and sometimes that holds people back from using quick reporting. So you have the option from a security standpoint to simply turn off the ability to create a new work order in quick reporting. It's just a security setting per group if you want to do it for a limited number of people, or you can get into application designer, modifying the application to affect all users. So you would then still be able to use quick reporting and not bypass whatever workflow process you have in place. Advanced search, not that big compared to work order tracking. By the same token, in both cases, we want to make sure that the list tab, in terms of the filter fields, as well as the advanced search, have the fields that you are using and leveraging and then make sure that that is then optimized for what you're going to want to search for. And particularly around the list tab, you also have to look at, you know, how many fields you have on there before the screen gets too wide and you have to start scrolling left and right. So there's a happy medium to be found there. Doesn't necessarily mean that there's going to be a one perfect answer for that. Love if there was, but often there is not. Last thing, alterations. Maximo is delivered with tools in Maximo to alter Maximo. The architect's doing a great job at getting the product out. Very often in terms of tailoring and configuring the application to your business, that means you need to change it. Utilizing the tools that are there in database configuration and application designer particularly, and even security, and sometimes conditional views as well, you have a way to make those changes within the application, using the application, and then there are support through upgrade. So that the change you made is still going to be there in, if you're in 7.6, then in 7.7, or whatever the case may be. All right, so let's take a look at how this looks side by side. You can see I needed to alter the resolution significantly to get work order tracking even to fit. Quick reporting, not so much. Let's not forget the tabs. Quite a few for work order tracking, just a few for quick reporting. Again, quick reporting brings forth a focus on reporting results or those actuals regarding what happened with the work order. Even with this focus on reporting, there is access to plan data. Your tasks are readily available, and you can scroll through those if you have many tasks beyond the normal display. For labor, materials, tools, there is a planned labor, reserved materials, and so you have essentially a button, one-click access to the plan information if you need to have access to that. So you're not getting completely away from your planned information, but a large portion of it is gone. Assignments, for example, the assignments tab's not presented in quick reporting. Related records and so on. There are just a number of things that are not presented to you in the quick reporting application to help to make it, well, quick. All right, so let's talk about alterations. Quick reporting is dramatically scaled down version of work order tracking. And in fact, it may be too small for your organization. When you're aligning quick reporting use with your business, you should consider adding as well as removing fields on the list of main tabs, and make sure that you look again at the advanced search. In other cases, the idea of bypassing the work order approval process at all, may not be allowed. Again, in which case you can simply use security or even application designer to disallow new work order creation in quick reporting. Just something to keep in mind. If again, because I've gotten that feedback as a large significant reason why quick reporting gets omitted. Every once in a while I find that somebody just didn't know it was there, but it is just something else to consider. Here's a quick reporting in the commercial off-the-shelf, that is the COTS or out-of-the-box, the OOB configuration for whichever acronym you prefer, or you may have a different one. This often has a few items to be altered, and just kind of as examples, think about what you use. Do you use, for example, configuration items, classifications on work orders, one or both of the crew fields, the multi-asset section? In short, if you don't use it, you want to hide it. You can use a security toggle, or you can remove it entirely. And I'll mention the security toggles. Essentially, you can just basically make a modification to the frame or the field depending on how much area you want to hide in Application Designer. and then it becomes a security setting. So, and there's a webinar on simplifying Maximo that's discussed in more detail, but that is something that's available to you as well if you want to hide as opposed to remove the area or field from the application. The other thing to remember is you also need to ask about what is missing. For example, to use work groups, owner work type. Just out of the box field's not there. So it's something, the work type tends to be one we add all the time, but depending on how, again, you're using Maximo and you're using the application, that will make a determination primarily around what it is you'll want to add as well as what you have removed. This is a modification for Maximo's essentially quick reporting application. There's a combination of modifications that have been made to the application itself and quick reporting, just to simplify things overall. And again, this is not saying that this is the optimal. The optimal one is the one that matches your business. But vertical labeling has been turned off. That's why you see the labels on the side instead of on top, which tends to support more of the landscape view as opposed to the portrait view, landscape being the wide view, which is what most of our desktop and laptop screens are. Tablets, on the other hand, people tend to operate in either mode, whichever one is more comfortable, I guess is the best way to say it. There have been a couple of work type, of course, has been added. So, and again, these are all changes that can be made. One of the crew fields has been exposed, the other's not. But this is all things that can be done, again, with the tools that are provided with Maximo. You may have seen this before, but I'll cover it again here. There's two quick reporting applications. Note the newer version fits a little better on the wide screen, has a lot of resolution, and it's hard to see in PowerPoint, so we'll take a look in the actual browser in a moment. We'll get into Maximo. I just want to use this for a comparison, and note there's also several fields that have been removed, and in reality they're just hidden, both fields and areas within the application. Now, even with modification to system properties, full access can still be a little challenging for new users. In short, if they don't need it, you can just hide it. For example, how many non-administrative users need access to attachment management or Cognos reporting, especially if you're not using Cognos, deleting the work log, downtime if you don't report it. And many of these are actual security settings delivered out of the box. Again, just another thing to think about when you're thinking about security. Security shrinks the application. Things that people don't need, secure them out of it, and it gets it off their display. That way they don't get lost or confused by it. They can focus on the things that you need them to actually report to get things started. And you can always grow later on, expand the use of the application and modifying security accordingly. This is a sample, sort of a minimum, I guess, for a maintenance technician. Access to read and update work orders and to change status of in-progress work orders or synonyms like maintenance complete, which is sometimes sometimes used to indicate the technician's done, but the work order is still not complete. So maintenance complete is typically a synonym status for in progress. And again, getting back to how you want to use Maximo. It's important to coordinate this with Start Center use, particularly as it relates to your technicians or anyone reporting work results on work orders. So In addition to the other security settings, ideally you want result sets for the technician to go to work orders they're assigned, however you assign them, whether you use assignment manager or scheduler and update the assignments tab, or you use lead or supervisor or owner, work group, owner group. You have all these variables available to you based on the decisions you make in terms of how you assign. You build the queries for those in those applications, and those queries become result sets that show up on the Start Center. So, we'll show you earlier a little bit with Leonard Schaefer, and his login session gets him to the work orders he needs to have, but he still has access essentially to everything else based on your security requirements that you have. And this will just be kind of one single example. Now, this is a standard Start Center. Blew it up to 145% just to make it a little easier to see, because that becomes another issue as well, is making the application not just easy to use, but also easier to see and to navigate in. All right, so this is an everyplace Start Center. It's actually still at 100% resolution. And one of the things with everyplace tends to make everything bigger, but at the same time it takes a number of things away as well, like side navigation. So you'll notice side navigation on the standard Start Center, no side navigation, and there's no option for it in the everyplace Start Center. But again, still Leonard Schaefer, and ultimately you could give them access to both. Several years ago, when first rolling this out under 7.5 using everyplace, I would periodically find that people who were not using a tablet or a mobile device would be at their desktop and would still launch the everyplace screens because they were bigger. So that's something else to keep in mind, but you lose the side navigation. So you'll have to make sure actions, particularly, are the main things that you lose. Then if there's certain ones that you want to have and they need to be made buttons, put on the toolbar, and then you have access to them. And that is something, again, within the application design capability delivered with Maximo. So this is now the quick reporting application. It's the everyplace configuration of it, and there are a number of modifications on the screen here as well. Same modifications can be made in regular quick reporting. This again just makes it easier to see. So the things removed included configuration items, classifications, the multi-asset section. They're just gone. Work type is added, work group, owner group as well. Should also point out measurement point, value, and date fields are here, and they're here in this summary view on the task. The measurement point values are typically related to the task, entered at the task level, and in quick reporting out of the box, they are in this summary view. In work order tracking, they're in the detail view. So you actually have to get to the individual task, click on the icon, and go to the detail view, and then get down to the measurement value field for doing your entry. But in quick reporting, and again, this is delivered this way out of the box, this is one of those differences I mentioned between the two applications, where in this case you can put your value in directly in the summary view, particularly in cases where you have multiple measurement points for a single work order. You have several tasks that have measurement values to be entered. This just makes it easier to do the entry here in this summary view as opposed to looking into it in the detail view. All right, so yeah, let's take a look at Maximo and let's see if I lost my, didn't lose my login. Oh, look at there. All right, so let's see if we can get more of this utilized. All right, so here we are. I'm just maximizing that a little bit to get to Leonard Schaefer Start Center. pretty busy. So he's got two. He's got a maintenance start center, he's got the everyplace start center, and we'll look at both of those within the application. Ultimately, again, result sets are based on queries in applications, and the result of that query running in the application is presented to the start center. So if you want to just look at all the work orders, in this case, in that particular application, this particular result set, I believe is tied to, yes, work order tracking. That brings me all the work orders. And if I go back home, let's grab one work order. Let's just take a look at this. And this guy, I believe, goes to a different application. Yep, quick reporting. So that's the thing to keep in mind as you're making these types of alterations. You may have plan data or just other data, other work orders you want to have in a result set that people have access to. The key thing to keep in mind, again, the query first is built in the application you want people to come to, and then the start center result set is referencing that particular application so that they will then navigate to that application to perform their updates or review or whatever is required. Now, if we look at this in general, let's go ahead and we'll grab this work order 1221. Yeah, I picked it ahead of time because I know I had data. So a lot of action here, a lot of real estate in use. You know, and again, a number of things that are not required for you can be stashed away and hidden, like address information if you don't have them, the multi-asset section as well if you do not require it. Those things can be hidden manually, or you can find a way to either toggle that off selectively through security as opposed to just removing it entirely from the application to the application designer. And each user would then have their own control as well where they can minimize it to get it somewhat out of their way. And of course you have the rest of the tabs within the work order that are available to you through work order tracking. Quick reporting, a little bit different. And let's grab somebody that's got some similar details. Right, so in this case, as I mentioned before, we have a number of changes that are made to the application. And this is at 100% view. You can always, toggle it up using the control plus to increase the visibility or to decrease, and control minus gets it smaller, control 0 gets it into a fixed sort of display. Now, beyond this, you have, again, measurement point information, the measurement value, a place to report your results. If you have planned labor, it's one click away. Similarly, on the material side, you have reserved items that may be reserved for the work order. Tools, if there are planned tools that are there, again. So yeah, so you have access to some of the planned information available to you within quick reporting, even though the focus in the application really is to get you just involved in reporting results. If you have to add new tasks, you can do that here as well. You have access to loan description. If failure reporting is required, you have the same, essentially the same information on the failure reporting side, so you can select individual, well, of course I don't have any on this particular one, there we go. But you can select the appropriate failure class, problem, cause, and remedy. And again, being able to report those results. If there are individual meter readings that are not condition monitoring related, there's a space for those, and a log. So Your primary function and focus around being able to report results around the work order is pretty much covered in quick reporting. If you had attachments related to the work order, they would be here as well. So that is also going to be available to you at reporting time. So virtually everything you would need to have is typically going to be there in quick reporting. Now, a slightly different view of quick reporting, and in fact, the Start Center, I'm going to switch to, well, actually, I'll just show you via mobile login. So if I went to, and again, this is in 7.6, using the mobile login for Schaefer, and let's see, what's his password? I think that's right. So in this case, I've used the mobile login, essentially coming in through Maximo everyplace. So you'll see ultimately things are a little bigger. The favorites you have still available to you, and this can be configured pretty much just like any other Start Center. Only real difference is because it's configured mobile, it then is bigger. Your side navigation, I can't even get anything over here. Your side navigation is completely gone. You do have a toggle, so you can go between standard and mobile. But if you look at the Start Center in a standard form, it's essentially the same Start Center, but it does give you back your side navigation and, of course, your option to toggle it on and off. Your toolbar, your menu bar across the top of the application has more options that are come with the standard view, whereas the mobile view has fewer. And I'm going to switch back to mobile. The other thing that you'll have in this case is we're also going to be looking at, in this case, the mobile everyplace application. So moving into the everyplace application, now we have things, again, look bigger. You still have the same capabilities. You have queries that are available to you. So let's see, work assigned to my person group. So I can see work orders where I'm a member of a group that is assigned several work orders, and I can have access to that, or I could have it as access to work orders as a lead. So then I would see myself in the lead, or whatever other requirement you have in terms of the way that you do the assignment. Again, just more things that you'll have to look at and examine around how you actually do handle the assignments made on the work orders. It's just one of those things that is there and made available and how the application is configured. But same thing, I have access to plant labor. On my materials, there's my reserved items and so on. So big difference. Yeah, you will see everything's a little bigger. And again, the idea here is you're working on a tablet, so buttons are bigger to accommodate fingers as opposed to this, super skinny cursor. You also will notice the pop-ups will pop up generally in one space, upper left on the application, as opposed to kind of in the space near the button where it occurred. Again, the query toggle, making your queries available, it's a system property you may need to update because I think the default is actually that this doesn't display. But your quick search is there. Your toolbar buttons will, again, you'll have to make modifications to make sure that these are available. For example, this button brings up the cost, which is essentially the view. So in standard work order tracking or quick reporting, you go to view and cost to do that out of the side navigation. Again, no side navigation available. So those things that you want to have on there, you've got to make sure that whoever maintains your application goes ahead and puts those in. History, if you're looking for status history, that's available, but again, that's from the side navigation. So you don't have it on the side navigation, it's got to put that on a button. So these are just some things to think about as well if you're going to be using quick reporting on the everyplace side as opposed to quick reporting standard. And in both cases, you still need to look at, again, the fields that are most important to you to have as part of your application use. All right, so before I cover questions, I'm going to make sure I cover the rest here. So just to kind of recap our differences list, quick reporting, again, fewer tabs, making it slightly easier to use. And in fact, and as I come back to the application, you'll note I've actually removed the specifications tab, because in this case, I'm not using specifications. I can just hide it, get it out of the view, and nobody has to wander in there to try and figure out what's going on. Fewer fields, again, per tab, also making the application easier to use. And when you start rolling out Maximo, you want to try and, as quickly as possible, get people into it, used to it, and reporting results. Limited focus in the application, primarily looking at the actuals and reporting the actuals, although giving you access to some of the plan data as well. Work orders, again, begin in progress status. And there are ways to get around that if that's a concern around bypassing your overall work order approval process. Advanced search, not a lot there. So just like advanced search in work order tracking as well, you may want to look at making modifications to it to make sure that it is actually available and capturing the fields that you need to have in there for people to search for their work orders. Same way with the list tab. And although that's common, occasionally we'll find the history flag actually on the list tab. Probably more in procurement than in work orders, but if it's something that you need to have access to on a regular basis, you can put it there as opposed to, you'll have it on the advanced search because it's already there, but it may be something else you want to put on. Same with dates. Report, target start, schedule finish. There's lots of dates on work order. Some you want to put on the list tab, but you definitely don't want to put them all there. So again, just keep in mind, alterations are often needed, particularly on the quick reporting side, even though as delivered out of the box, it does provide you with a great deal of excellent functionality and design around reporting actuals on a work order. All right, next webinar. So our next one coming up is actually going to be around purchasing, and we'll take a look at some of the things that are really revolving around procurement as it relates to the work order, and it looks like I'll be doing that one. May 10th, 2 o'clock. Generally these are around on a Wednesday, second or third in the month, so next one again is May 10th. And please remember to register. And before I think of anything else, there's a survey at the end of the webinar. We'd like you to take those, and if you have questions or ideas for a topic for a future webinar, please feel free to input them. This purchasing for work orders actually wasn't my idea. It came out of a survey, somebody in New Jersey. Can't remember when that was, but at any rate, if you have ideas for those, please do put them in when you fill in the survey. All right, so let's take a look at questions. Is there a way to default a new work order quick reporting to be work order waiting approval instead of in progress? Not that I am aware of. So the question is, when you hit new, work orders go automatically into in progress. Is there a way to make quick reporting, make them go into waiting approval status? Not that I'm aware of. I suppose you could do with an automation script, which would then take it back from in progress to waiting approval. I wouldn't recommend it. If there's a concern around, again, bypassing your workflow process, make a work request application. And then, of course, you might ask, what's a work request application? So I don't remember if I have one in here or not, but let me take, even if I do, I probably don't have access to it. Oh, well, look at there, work order request. So work order request is a lot like quick reporting, but it's primarily there. It's even skinnier for people to request work. And this is a clone of work order tracking. Really scaled down. No extra tabs and very little detail. So if you do want to do something like that, you certainly can. I just do not know of a way to alter quick reporting, but I'll take a look. I'll talk to somebody smarter than me and then see if there is a good way to alter quick reporting to allow you to put work orders into waiting approval status on creation. But let's say you're probably better off just cloning work order tracking into work order requests is very straightforward. You'll spend more time on analysis as to what you want to have than actually doing the work. So that's what I recommend in that case. Let's see, can you see the work order from quick reporting and work order tracking? Yeah, work order is a work order. So the question is there an application restriction that hides work order records from one application or another? And the answer is no. So quick reporting we'll be able to see all the work orders that you have in work order tracking out of the box. Now, if you have made an alteration to put in an application restriction, then that would be the case. But out of the box, all the work order records that appear in work order tracking would appear in quick reporting. Your main difference between the two is the fields and tabs that are displayed on a record. So you'll still see the same work order records, just not as many fields of data in quick reporting as you would see in work order tracking. What's the purpose of quick reporting? So hopefully I've answered that. What is the difference between a service request generated work order versus a quick reporting work order? So a work order generated from a service request would typically go into waiting approval status. That is one difference. Depending on what data you cross over from the service request, because the service request tends to have not very much data in it, but there are different crossover options in terms of what you send across that would be data you got from the service request as opposed to when you hit new in the application, those other fields may not have been present and you'll have to fill those in. Those are probably the two biggest differences there. Who is quick reporting geared towards? The crass person in the field as a mobile user? I would say the quick reporting is geared towards people who spend more of their time reporting when they're in Maximo, reporting results. So technicians, definitely, because they get work orders and they report what they did. They may browse inventory, they may look at assets locations, PMs or job plans, but most of their time is probably spent in work order tracking or in quick reporting. But in some cases, the technicians at a site don't actually work in Maximo. They still work on paper. Paper gets handed in. I know you're all probably shaking your heads thinking, how can that be in this day and age? Allow me to tell you, it is that way in this day and age. And yes, we still host, we have one remaining Maximo 4 client. So I know there's a lot of technology available and it's kind of hard to understand and fathom, but there are people who use Maximo, print reports, write down results on paper, turn them into somebody to be handed in and keyed in. That person that has to do the keying in, that is the person that quick reporting is designed for, because they're going to get a sheet of paper with a work order number and they're going to have results to enter. Quick reporting is a place for that. So it's definitely geared towards a technician, but also anyone who has a primary function of having to enter results. Can you please show at least one of the queries? Oh, yeah. So So the question is around, I actually need to log in as somebody else. So the question is around the nature of the query that traces work back to the person logged in. And so I assume that's what that question is. What's my password? Sorry, had to remember it. All right, so work order tracking probably has the, I got some quick reporting as well. Let's see, can I see them in every place? Actually, I should probably look at the other every place. You're wondering why there's multiple every places. Well, the L was one geared for landscape view, but I think this is where we were, where I had the query. So the way this worked, let's do the messy one. Wow, that is a mess. And extremely hard to view. So let's open up Word and make it more visible. There we go. So this is your query, and hopefully this is what you're looking for. Most of the stuff, the top part's pretty much standard. So work order class, work order class activity, history flag, and his task. This is the stuff I think you get pretty much out of the box when you don't do anything at all. So I add status not equal to complete. And then this is the messy logic that's used to essentially take the person who's currently logged in. This colon user is a variable. It picks up who's logged in, relates that back to, well, for that user, what's their person ID? For that person ID, is that person a member of a person group, and is that person group assigned to the work order? So yeah, messy, but you know, it allows you to do it, so that's the way I built them. Here's another one. Uh-oh, where'd my word session go? There it is. So we'll get that back up there. And similar situation. Actually a little bit easier to deal with though. Essentially saying the lead and relating the lead to, again, the person currently logged in. That colon user is picking them up. So if that person's logged in, then you look at the max user record, find the person ID from that record, compare it to a person ID that would be inside the lead field. So the reason logic is written this way, you don't have to make it this complicated, but since person and user do not have to be the same, the logic is here to accommodate that case. In the case where the person ID and the user ID are not the same, Maximo allows it, so sometimes that actually happens. So this way it works no matter what you do. All right, next question. Oh, okay, so the same question, just to pick the different query ready, and I'm owner. So did I have owner? Don't remember if I had owner. So only just real difference between owner and lead. Looks like I made some other changes to status, but the key is owner. It does take a little bit more. It's a little bit messier, but no, not so much. It's really owner group is the messier one, but it's the same as person group. And then my company, we issue with a work order defaulting to FLD comp. So Linda, I'm not actually understanding the question here. Actually, not sure there is a question here. Unless you're relating your previous question around the service request. But at any rate, all these queries, you can have them relate to a status, and even to pick up synonyms in cases where it looks like, yeah, in your case, look, you have a synonym, so you can have it pick either relating to the synonym status or the actual status itself. So in this case, I looked at in comp and comp, and yes, in comp is a synonym status. for comp. So somebody mark it off complete, but they use in comp to designate and indicate that they actually did not complete the work, but they're moving on. So again, depending on your reporting requirements, these are other things that you can do within the Maximo configuration to help tailor and configure its use to your requirements. And I believe I have answered all the questions. Are there any, if you do have a question, again, please feel free to post it into the questions section. And let me go do one other thing here. So just kind of as a reminder from our poll, a large number of you do not use quick reporting as a primary method of reporting results from a work order. Hopefully, this session will help to change your mind. And that's really why it was done. And if it doesn't, at least it makes you more aware of what's available to you in quick reporting, because selectively you may have individual people or individual groups that may want to start using it. All right, let's get that out of there. And no further questions. So it looks like we're done a little early. So again, next webinar, in fact, let's try this way. Oh, and there's the next one. So purchasing. And yeah, it looks like I'm doing it. So again, when you register, go through it. If you have other topics that you want to include, you can do it at that time, make a note. More importantly, at the end of this session, again, please go ahead and fill out the survey, and at that point, let us know if there is something else you would want to have covered in a future webinar. Thank you very much for your time, and I'm glad I finished inside the hour. I always worry about that. Looking forward to hosting you again in a month. Have a good day.